4 days after Alisa Goods disappeared in Las Vegas, her family received a message that appeared to come from her phone. The sender wanted money, then gas money, then Bitcoin. There was just one problem. Alisa did not drive. Her family immediately knew something was wrong. They began wondering whether someone else had her phone, whether she was being held somewhere, whether those messages were a clue to what had happened. But nearly 2 weeks later, police discovered surveillance footage that changed the entire case. The video showed Alisa near Harry Reid International Airport on August 8th, the same day she disappeared. According to police, she fell down an embankment. She got back up. Then she collapsed. After that, investigators said there was no visible movement. That happened on August 8th. The mysterious messages apparently began on August 12th, 4 days later. So if Alisa had already collapsed near the airport, who was communicating with her family? And why was that person asking for Bitcoin? That question is now one of the strangest parts of a case that began with what looked like an ordinary shopping trip. Alisa Goods was 63 years old. She lived in New York. She was a grandmother of 5. In early August, she traveled to Las Vegas to visit her longtime friend, Roger John. According to John, Alisa was staying at his apartment near Maryland Parkway and Tropicana Avenue. On August 8th, shortly before 1 p.m., Alisa told him she was going out. She planned to take a bus to a CVS to buy iron medication. Nothing about the trip appeared unusual. John later remembered seeing her walk down the stairs. He told her he would see her later. That was the last time he saw her alive. At first, there was no reason to panic. John said Alisa sometimes spent hours shopping, so when she did not immediately return, he did not assume the worst. But the afternoon became evening. Alisa still did not come back. John began calling her. He sent messages. There was no normal response. Eventually, he contacted her family, and the people who knew Alisa best quickly realized this did not make sense. Her niece, Alana Calloway, later said, disappearing without telling anyone was completely out of character for her aunt. Alisa had people waiting for her, children, grandchildren, relatives who expected to hear from her. She had no known reason to simply vanish. 2 days after she was last seen, on August 10th, Alisa was officially reported missing. The search began, but then the story took a disturbing turn. August 12th, 4 days after Alisa had walked out of her friend's apartment, her family began receiving strange communications that appeared to come from her phone. At first, that might have sounded like good news. If Alisa was texting, perhaps she was alive. Perhaps she was safe. Perhaps there was some simple explanation for why she had not returned. But almost immediately, the messages created more fear than relief. The sender started asking for money. Then came a request involving gas. That made no sense to the family. Alisa did not drive. She did not have a car in Las Vegas. Her niece reportedly questioned the request. Why would Alisa need gas money if she did not have a vehicle? The messages continued. Then Bitcoin entered the conversation. According to the family, whoever was communicating from the number asked about receiving money through cryptocurrency. That was another major warning sign. This did not sound like Alisa, so the family began testing the person on the other end. They wanted to know whether they were really speaking to their missing loved one. At one point, Alana reportedly mentioned a person named Kelly. There was a problem. There was no Kelly. It was essentially a trap. If the person texting was really Alisa, the family expected her to question the name. Instead, the sender apparently continued the conversation. For the family, that was terrifying. Now they had to consider a new possibility. Someone might be pretending to be Alisa. Someone might have access to her phone, or at least to her phone number, and whoever it was seemed to want money. Then came another strange contact. According to family accounts, Alisa's son received a phone call. The caller claimed to be his mother, but relatives said the voice did not sound like Alisa. The family asked for a video call. The person refused. Problems with the phone were reportedly given as the reason. By this point, the mystery had changed completely. This was no longer simply a missing person case in the eyes of the family. They began fearing that Alisa might be in danger. Some relatives wondered whether she had been kidnapped, and the apparent requests for money made those fears even worse. But there is an important distinction. The family's fears were not proof of what happened. Police had not confirmed a kidnapping. They had not announced evidence of a ransom plot. And they had not said that whoever sent the messages was responsible for Alisa's disappearance. Investigators also considered the possibility that the communications might involve some form of phone number spoofing. Spoofing can make a call or message appear to come from a number that is not actually being used by the person making the contact. That possibility matters, because seeing Alisa's number on a screen did not necessarily mean someone physically possessed her phone. And it certainly did not prove that Alisa herself was sending the messages. But the family did not yet know what had happened. They only knew that Alisa was gone, and every strange message created another question. Her daughter traveled across the country to Las Vegas. Family members checked hospitals. They contacted jails. They checked with the coroner. They distributed missing person flyers. They searched for security footage. They tried to reconstruct her movements, and as the days passed, their desperation grew. Las Vegas is a city filled with cameras, hotels, casinos, stores, parking garages, traffic systems, airports. The family struggled to understand how Alisa could simply disappear. Somewhere between leaving the apartment and the mysterious messages that appeared days later, the trail seemed to vanish. But it had not vanished completely. The answer was sitting inside surveillance footage, and when investigators finally located it, the entire case changed. Early on August 20th, police received a report of a deceased woman in a drainage area near Wayne Newton Boulevard and the Terminal 1 parking garage at Harry Reid International Airport. Officers responded. The woman was identified as Alisa Goods. The search was over. But the discovery created a new mystery. How had Alisa ended up there? And how long had she been there? Investigators began reviewing surveillance footage from the airport area. The video took them all the way back to August 8th, the day Alisa disappeared. According to police, the footage showed Alisa near the airport that afternoon. Then she fell down an embankment. She got up. And then she collapsed. After that, investigators said the video showed no further movement. That detail transformed the timeline. For almost 2 weeks, Alisa's family had been searching Las Vegas. They had been checking hospitals and morgues. They had been trying to interpret messages that appeared to come from her number. But according to the surveillance footage, Alisa may have been lying near the airport from the very first day, and her location apparently could not be seen from the roadway. That may explain how she remained undiscovered for so long. A person can be physically close to thousands of travelers and still be completely hidden. Cars can pass nearby. People can walk through parking areas. Planes can take off overhead. Yet if someone is below an embankment or inside a drainage area that cannot be seen from the street, the person may remain invisible. It is a devastatingly simple possibility. But the surveillance footage did more than explain where Alisa had been. It made the messages even harder to understand. Remember the timeline. August 8th. Alisa leaves her friend's apartment. Later that day, surveillance reportedly shows her near the airport. She falls. She gets back up. Then she collapses. No additional movement is seen. August 10th. She is reported missing. August 12th. Her family says strange messages begin arriving. Money, gas, Bitcoin. That 4-day gap is now at the center of the mystery. If Alisa was already incapacitated on August 8th, then who was behind those later communications? There are several possibilities, but at this point, they remain possibilities. Someone could have obtained access to her phone. Someone could have used technology to disguise the origin of the communications. A scammer could have learned about the missing person case and tried to exploit a desperate family. Or investigators could eventually discover another explanation entirely. What they have not publicly established is a proven link between the Bitcoin messages and Alisa's death. That distinction is critical, because the most suspicious part of a story is not automatically the cause of the tragedy. The messages may turn out to be directly connected. They may turn out to be completely separate. Until investigators identify who sent them, nobody outside the investigation can responsibly say which is true. There is another unanswered question. How did Alisa get from the area where she had been shopping to the airport? Her original plan was reportedly to visit CVS and buy iron medication. She apparently completed at least part of that errand, but the publicly known timeline does not yet provide a complete explanation of what happened next. Did she take a bus? Did she walk? Did she become confused? Was she trying to reach the airport? Was she suffering from a medical problem before she fell? Those details matter, because the surveillance footage shows what happened at the end of her visible journey. It does not necessarily explain what caused it. Police have said Alisa fell down an embankment, got up, and then collapsed. But why? Was the fall itself fatal? Did she suffer an injury? Was she experiencing a medical emergency before the fall? Did a medical emergency cause the collapse afterward? At this point, the official cause and manner of Alisa Goods' death have not been publicly released. And until the medical examiner completes that process, nobody should assume the answer. There has also been no public announcement that police consider her death a homicide. There is no confirmed kidnapping, no confirmed murder, no confirmed ransom plot. Those facts matter because this case contains exactly the kind of details that can easily generate speculation. A missing woman, Bitcoin, a mysterious caller, a voice the family does not recognize, a body near an airport. Taken together, those details sound like the beginning of a crime thriller. But real investigations do not work like thrillers. Each piece has to be proven. Phone records, device data, surveillance footage, location information, medical findings, witness statements. Investigators now have to determine which pieces actually connect, and which ones only appear to connect. The surveillance footage may ultimately answer another difficult question. Why was Alisa not found sooner? Her family spent days trying to get attention focused on the case. They knew her disappearance was unusual. They knew she had not returned as expected. Then the strange messages began. From the family's point of view, every new development made the situation feel more urgent. But law enforcement did not initially announce evidence showing that Alisa had been kidnapped or attacked. Missing adult investigations can be complicated because adults are legally allowed to travel, change their plans, or stop communicating. Investigators have to determine whether evidence suggests immediate danger. In this case, the footage that eventually showed Alisa near the airport appears to have become one of the most important pieces of evidence. And it raises an unavoidable question. Could that video have been found earlier? Could someone have reached Alisa sooner? Or was there simply nothing during the first days of the investigation that clearly pointed police toward that particular drainage area? Right now, there is not enough publicly confirmed information to answer that fairly. What we do know is heartbreaking. Alisa's family was searching for her across Las Vegas. Her daughter traveled from New York. Relatives checked places no family ever wants to check. They called. They searched. They handed out flyers. They watched their phones. And when messages appeared from Alisa's number, for a moment, those communications may have seemed like the only possible connection to her. Instead, they created even more fear. Then came the discovery near the airport. Alisa Goods was gone. Her family released a statement saying they were devastated. They thanked the public and the media for helping bring attention to the search, and they made clear that they were still trying to understand what happened. That is now where the case stands. There are really 3 investigations inside this story. The first is physical. What caused Alisa to fall and collapse on August 8th? The medical examiner may eventually provide that answer. The second is geographic. How did she travel from the area near her friend's apartment and CVS to the airport? Surveillance and transportation records may help reconstruct that route. And the third is digital. Who sent those messages? Who asked for gas money? Who mentioned Bitcoin? Was the person using Alisa's actual device? Was the number spoofed? And did those communications have anything to do with her disappearance or death? That may be the most important unresolved mystery of all, because the surveillance footage created a timeline that is difficult to ignore. August 8th, Alisa Goods collapses near Harry Reid International Airport. No further movement is visible. August 12th, her family begins receiving communications that appear to come from her number. Someone wants money, then Bitcoin. If the two events are connected, investigators need to determine how. If they are not connected, then someone may have exploited the disappearance of a missing grandmother while her family was desperately searching for her. Either possibility is deeply disturbing, but neither has been proven yet. For now, the airport footage has answered one question. It appears to show where Alisa Goods' final journey ended. What it does not explain is why she collapsed. And it does not explain what happened 4 days later. Because if Alisa could no longer communicate on August 8th, who was speaking for her on August 12th?